All right, I'm back. Let's do a little bit of setup here and housekeeping. I have, during the break, put the details here to the record. So, James Bond 007, The Duel for the Sega Master System. I just realized it says Game Gear here because we actually did not... I was kind of expecting to be playing the Game Gear version. The Game Gear and the Master System version are essentially the same. It's just the game... It's one of those games where the Game Gear version has the tighter camera. And I'm kind of realizing, like, we probably should have looked at that, but... I'm kind of good for now. But in many cases, when you have a Game Gear / Master System game, the Master System version is kind of... not necessarily worse, but like it usually runs worse. And that's probably true of this game. As you notice, there's a lot of slowdown. And if the game was kind of more designed for the Game Gear, which is the case in quite a few games where they were designed for Game Gear and then later ported to the Master System, not infrequently for the Brazilian market, you know, they wouldn't have necessarily been designed to display all that stuff with a, you know, zoomed out camera, but with a tighter view, you don't see as much at a time, so you'll have less slowdown, etc. But I don't think the slowdown was a big deal in this game, and I think... Actually, I'm even curious how this would work with a Game Gear camera, because you have, like, the way the enemies behave and everything, you wouldn't be able to sort of... I think it would be harder, I guess is the ultimate conclusion there. But to my knowledge, they are not different enough to really warrant playing through that version as well. In any case, let me actually fix that in the spreadsheet. As we actually play the Master System version, but it is also on Game Gear. We finished it in 8:23:37, so we'll clean up the timer there and get ready for the next game, which is, of course... let's see here. Secret mission number 3, Car Chase. Which, in fact, let's update the stream info too. I have a feeling this is not in their database. Nope. Let's just set it to retro. So let's do that and that. So let's update this. So the artwork that we're seeing here is like a super fake. This, like, someone made it and put it on the internet. This game doesn't have... I don't even know how this game was really distributed, but I would have to imagine that it was certainly not commercial, and certainly not to the point where they would have something designed and printed. It probably would have just come in a regular tape case with some either handwritten or possibly dot matrix printed piece of paper that says 007 Car Chase. It's kind of what I imagine. But someone put this together and it was as good of a thing to use as any. So let's update this. Well, let's get our details right here. Secret mission number 3. And was on the Commodore 64 in 1985. Published and developed by Poplin Software, which I can only assume... Whoops. Is just some British dude. So, published is, you know... maybe we should just remove the publisher line altogether, but we'll keep it there for consistency, I suppose. Is there a typo? If there is, it's fine. It's not my fault. What do we have to say about this game? Players control a car that must drive on the road along with other cars. To deal with them, the car is equipped with a smoke screen and weapons which players can use to kill them. From time to time, a helicopter flies overhead and will launch missiles and torpedoes at the player. but they can be destroyed with missiles, which their car is also equipped with. If the player's car comes into contact with enemy fire or collides with other cars, the player loses a life. Very, very quality writing there. But that's fine. It's fine. I think that's about all the information. Yeah, I just realized that looked like an emote thing. I was like, wait, did I... I wouldn't put it past myself to make some weird typos, that's all. Alright, so... Give me a second while I set this up. Be fine. Okay, that looks a bit messed up. Let's see here. Okay, let's get rid of the CRT simulation. I had settings and I guess they just didn't save. Just give me a moment here. Joystick settings. And do that to swap. Yep, that looks good. Okay. Okay. Save current settings. Let's do that. Okay, I think we're going to be good to go. So let's... Oh yeah, hang on. There we go. Auto start image 007 Karch.d64. There we go. We should start the timer because this is part of the C64 experience. So there's some kind of warp function that I think I can use to speed up, but and I used it to make sure that the game would boot up and everything. But I'm kind of curious just to see, you know, how long does it actually load? Because we got about half an hour, and I think load times included, that might be enough to fully experience this game. All right, copyright, Copland Software. Program will soon load. I like the ominous nature of that. It's not even like it's currently loading, but it will soon load. I'm assuming it's just like phrasing, you know, it's like the game will soon have loaded, not as if like, oh, I'm just going to sit around for a while before I bother starting to load something. I think the part of the kind of budget nature of this production is given away by the fact that there is no music or anything going on. Quite a few C64 games obviously spend a good amount of time loading at the beginning, but often accompanied by some sick SID tunes and not uncommonly accompanied by some cool artwork as well. Dolores Fred, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Oh, there we go. Wait for data transfer. The program will soon load, guys. I hope you're excited for some Commodore 64 car chase action. We've had some vehicular themed Bond games. Obviously, the very first Bond game is kind of themed around using his amphibian sports car. It has 4 levels, which each are sort of themed around one of the films, very loosely. And it's kind of an auto-scrolling, like side-scrolling platformer kind of a thing. You move around in the car, and then you go to water sections. Let me turn it down a little bit. Have you ever heard such a glorious rendition of the James Bond theme song? The graphics are also a little... Oh, I guess... Wait, hang on. So there's a car being followed by dumpsters or something that say 007. Are those... Is that smoke? Is that exhaust? This is a very cool game, guys. But yeah, we had, of course, Live and Let Die. That was a boat game, which of course was not actually a Bond game originally. It was just a game that had a boat racing game that had the Bond license attached to it after the fact. But this might just be the first... I mean, it would have to be, right? The first Bond game that is, like, fully themed around driving a car. I say fully themed, but I suppose you could take level 1 from... The Spy Who Loved Me. I think that's the one that started with the top-down driving stage. And that would be a more fully fledged game than this, probably. But even so, it's kind of neat. I love, like, one of the things that I've loved about these, like, early days of Bond games is how each game interprets the kind of material differently. Like, which aspects of the Bond mythos and, like, sort of what details and aspects do they try to bring in, because there's a lot, and you know, some games try to do a bit of everything, but few really manage it, because like the Sega games are both really cool. You get good quality action platforming and shooting, you have some villains and boss fights and whatever, and that's all cool, but there's not, like, you know, there's no vehicle stuff. The locations don't feel very Bond-like. I mean, you get the kind of villain's lair and everything, but the boat and the forest especially doesn't feel very Bond-like. There's no, like, exotic, fancy, like, travel destinations, really. Even though, I mean, technically the game isn't in its entirety takes place on a tropical island. It doesn't, you know, feel that Bond-like. And of course, you don't certainly get any of Bond's suave personality. And, of course, as we get to more modern games, you have better capabilities of incorporating more of those things, but in the meantime, it's cool to see each game kind of cherry-picking, like a little vertical slice of Bond. And in this case, we're all focused on driving. So let's press the I key for instructions. Welcome, 007. Here's your license to kill. James Bond, Agent 007, Live and Let Die. I like that you're, like, as we're loading, we're just like, oh, here's your license to kill. The aim of this game is to shoot the cars with your smoke and guns, blast the helicopter with your missile, and last the circuit for bonus points. Scoring. Car equals 50 points or 100 when in turbo. Helicopter equals 2,000 points. Track plan. The purpose of this is to give an indication when to expect the curves. The track plan is randomly generated. It's a little bit mysterious. So I think we can already infer that this is an endless game. There's no goal. We can last the circuit, i.e. make it to the end and finish a loop for bonus points. I strongly doubt that it's like... it'd be great if we manage, but I don't expect, like, lapping the circuit to be some, you know, remarkable location. There might be a little bonus message. I would not expect graphics to change, but who knows. But it really does seem like it's an extremely simple little game, so I'm not expecting much. Let's press any key. The car. This is the car you drive. It was designed especially for this mission and features secret gadgets to use. It's got double fire machine guns, it's got surface-to-air missiles, and it's got a rear smoke screen, and also it's got 18-inch wide rear tires sticking out of the car. You can already kind of see that this game is perhaps not a graphical powerhouse. It's you know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool once we get it in action, but you know, this is perhaps not one of those games that sort of hails from the insane creative minds of the European demo scene, if I had to guess. But hey, it's Commodore 64. There's a wide gamut of quality and ambition and technical mastery of the hardware. All right. The controls. I like this little visual diagram. I mean, I do think this whole like instruction thing that's like, obviously it's not very uncommon to have like instruction screens in games like these, even though I feel like half the time those would have been added in like a trainer by someone who cracked the game. But even this, like, modest visuals aside, like the fact that we get this little diagram of the joystick, like, that's kind of cool. That's going above and beyond. No Manfred Trenz, that's true, but then again, who is? So we can turn left and right. We press up on the joystick to fire our surface-to-air missiles. We press down on the joystick to fire our rear smoke screen. And we press the fire button to shoot our double... What was it called? The machine guns or whatever. Only one of your weapons can be used at one time. So basically, I think either weapon is going to basically fire a little projectile on screen. And as long as any one of those projectiles are on screen, we cannot shoot any other weapon. I believe that is basically how it works. Right, we got some additional features here. Pressing F1, pressing this puts you in turbo. F3, pressing this slows you down. F5 pauses. And F7 restarts the game. So I guess turbo just like makes the game run faster, so it's way harder, but you get, what was it, 100 points or 200 points for a car instead of 50. I think we'll be careful with turbo until we get our bearings, but we should try it. There you go. So let's press any other key to start the game. Ready? Welcome to the Fantasy Zone. All right, the track plan, I guess it's showing a curve to the right up ahead. Can we explode this car? Yeah, there we go. So there's a missile coming there, slowly but surely. Oh, look at this, we're in the tunnel. See the little headlights from the car? Yeah, I can't really turn while shooting. So this is the first and potentially last time we get to hear the Bond theme, or some approximation thereof, on a SID. Oh. Smoke screen, nope. So obviously the road here has got some kind of perspective going on. Oh, turn! I wasn't ready, but I think we're okay. What was I saying? I don't know. I'm mesmerized by this game. Oh yeah, the road has like perspective, but my car doesn't, and neither does anything else, and everything is kind of moving. We're being abducted by a UFO. Okay, I wasn't expecting this. Did we reload our weapons? Did we spy hunter? 1,000 bonus. I think we may have cleared a loop. Maybe. I don't know. Did we last the circuit? I don't think I didn't die or anything. Can I? Dude, that's so fucking... Oh. It's fucking impossible to get the helicopter. I can see why it'll give you not 8,000, unfortunately, 2,000 points. Bridge out on left, and I got hit. So if you touch a car, you just go flying. Cars 2. I guess that means we have 2 lives. But I've not played this game this far before. I haven't seen the bridge out message, so that means that like there's some cool stuff that can happen here. Looks like we're getting the warning about 2 miles. Oh! Oh, God. Wait. Boats? It looks like a car's driving out in the water there. I don't know if my car is equipped to deal with it. We did not get any such information in the briefing. I don't know if I can smoke screen. I like the smoke screen. It just looks like a giant flame. I like how the bridge is out on the left side and literally all traffic is happening on the water. I'm just cruising over here. Also, the track plan is a little bit confusing, I must admit. I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at there. Is this being like rendered off screen? Alright, bridge out on left again after this. Dude, you move, like, the thing is, the controls, as you might imagine, are not extremely responsive. And that's basically down to a quirk of this game. Which is that, as you may suspect from just listening to the music, or its desperate attempts at music, this game basically is only capable of doing one thing at a time. I remember reading some forum thread discussion about this game, and I forget if someone had like disassembled it or looked at the source code or whatever, but I recall seeing someone describing it, at least in such a way, like the music is extremely jerky and stuttery, and that's because like it's basically operating like the game logic and the music playback completely what's the word? I was gonna say in parallel, but like the opposite of doing it in parallel. In sequence, I guess. So anytime the game plays music, it's like not really advancing game logic, and anytime it is like doing computations on what's gonna happen, it's like not capable of playing music. Oh, okay, I kind of understand. Oh, nice. I just spawned with a car inside me. I might have been able to smoke screen it if I was really... if I really wanted to. So, okay, we get a track plan. And it'll... Oh, that was... oh, okay, well, game over. Oh, no, okay, the 0 counts. Sick. Dude, the fucking smokescreen is not easy to use. Yeah, this is like Spy Hunter 2 before Spy Hunter 2, but it's more playable, probably. That also had this weird perspective going on. But it's actually, like, you're frankly somewhat helped by the fact that your bullets are always traveling in a perfectly straight line. So at least there's no, like, real adjusting for perspective to deal with it. But there's other weirdness going on with the perspective, like lining up for shots like that. Just try to do the helicopter. Ah, I touched the red car. We're done for. I like that there's all these instructions, like, we get the tiny little bit of flavor of, like, here's your license to kill. Oh, enter your code. Can I type? Or is it... No? Okay, it's just like... Oh, it had to finish playing the music first. I understand. I understand. Of course, accepting keyboard input while playing music. That's a lot to ask for. But it's funny how, like, there's a few token attempts. Like, obviously the whole game concept, we're driving this like super car, although it's not really much of a chase, though, is it? It's basically just James Bond driving through traffic, blowing up every other car he can, and occasionally a helicopter flies by and shoots rockets at him. But, like, I feel like a game like this could be so much more enhanced by a little more narrative, a little more setting and world building around it. Like, obviously with Bond you get so much of that for free, but why not have instructions with like an actual mission briefing? Like, why not take 5 minutes to try to come up with some kind of explanation for, like, what the mission is? Like, why are we doing this? I accidentally shot the missile so that I didn't recover in time to shoot the machine gun. So I guess track plan, we were just like driving in a straight line. I'm not sure if we'll ever see like... I thought I saw that parts of it were like white, so I'm not sure if it's gonna like sort of light up as we progress through it. But I guess whenever we finish through, like it lays out like, I don't know, 4 pieces of track. We drive through them, and if we complete it, we get the 1,000-point bonus. Yeah, now that it's just like not on screen anymore. And after that, it generates a new track of however many pieces. Okay, so here's our shot to get the helicopter. The slowdown makes it a bit tricky. It's also funny with the perspective because the cars obviously don't scale. So like at the horizon, each lane can hold like 1 car, but by the camera, there can fit about like 12 cars per lane. And like that's the way that collision works too. Dude! That missile was like went right through that helicopter. That's I don't know what that is. So okay, we cleared the track, but we're in the middle of a turn, and the track plan didn't have turns. The track plan is such a mystery. Yeah, and I guess is that Q? Like, why not bring in like why not even like explain that like, oh, if you finish the track, Q is gonna supply you with more ammunition or whatever. Like, not that we have limited ammo, by the way. Like, none of that stuff would obviously make the game play any better, or be more exciting, or be something you'd be that much more invested in. But it would be a little easier, or actually I would say a lot easier to kind of what's the word? Like, it's not a matter of suspension of disbelief exactly, but more like getting that kind of investment in the experience and like imagining yourself as Bond doing this or whatever. Like, I think especially with games that are sort of this abstract, and especially if you're already going to the effort of having like in-game tutorial instruction type stuff, like you have a little screen where you get your license to kill. It's just like kind of shoddy writing, I guess you'd call it. All right, that didn't feel super fair. Where they've done all the heavy lifting, they've done all the hard work of putting the stuff in the game, but they didn't bother coming up with text that gives any kind of satisfactory or even poor explanation as to why we're just driving down the road destroying everything in sight. Is this game American or British? I am almost certain it's a British game. I'm pretty sure I would have at some point have done the research if I could have found out anything about this Copland software. The game is currently running at 50 hertz, but I don't know if there would be anything in the game itself to say that it would be. It would not shock me if this emulator is just configured to run at 50 hertz by default, because that's just like... Wait, okay, I'd already given up, but I guess I somehow survived that. I just drove through traffic, alright. Like, the Commodore 64 was so much more popular, like, over the course of its life in Europe than in North America, that for the most part it was more of a 50 hertz type situation. I don't know that playing this at 50 or 60 would make a ton of difference. Dude, I was literally holding down the fire button and this red car just drove right through it. Basically, anytime you transition from one piece of road to the next, it's a complete crapshoot what's gonna happen. But yeah, the thing is, like, even with the pacing, the timing issues... Oh shit! Okay. Maybe a little overly ambitious, but unique new graphics. It's more than I expected, honestly. Even if, like, there weren't any timing issues, I don't know that this music would sound all that great. I'm sure someone's like, I'm sure you can find a fine SID rendition of the James Bond theme. But considering how many games we even had on the C64, more than a handful, the fact that we never got a proper rendition of it is a big shame, honestly. Alright, new high score. I mean, we did get the amazing View to a Kill theme, which is probably the best piece of music in any of these games so far. Operation Stealth had great music, but of course, that's completely unrelated to Bond. I think the Mega Drive game was actually the first time we heard the Bond theme. Well, there is the Matt Furniss surrealist rap remix that was featured in Spy Who Loved Me, which I kind of love, but it's not exactly the Bond theme. But obviously, once we get to GoldenEye, I feel like the entire soundtrack to that game is just like cut up snippets of the like 90s Bond theme remix. I mean, it's good. Like it sets the tone quite well and everything, but I don't know that it actually has like a proper classic Bond. There's like the jingle on the title screen or whatever. I think. Oh my god! I guess it was too close to the water. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the musical aspect kind of evolve as we get into more modern games, just as we will see all kinds of other aspects evolve. We actually type, yeah. I'm officially better than 007. How about that? Could there be more graphics to explore and to find in 007 Car Chase? Could it be possible to actually hit the helicopter? I don't know. Like, I feel comfortable saying that we have given this game about as fair a shake as it deserves. We got 8 hours 23 minutes out of the Duel for the Master System. I don't think we need to dedicate 8 hours to this. In fact, I don't think we need to dedicate 1 hour to this. Had this been timed differently and we did this as warm-up for GoldenEye or whatever, yeah, maybe we'd play this a little bit more. But we're approaching 10 p.m. and I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm like, you know, we've seen 007 Car Chase. We've experienced it. We can kind of check it off the list and get that much closer to GoldenEye. What do you guys say? Why don't we take a quick look at upcoming games before we wrap up for the evening? Let's get some jams going. I guess we'll stop the timer there. Sure. 26:35, of which at least a couple of minutes were loading. Let me just put this in the spreadsheet real quick. Played through a few tracks. High score of 9250. So that's mission complete, I guess we'll call that. Did I? Hang on. Oh yeah, we can do this. Sorry, I forget that I actually did set this up. There we go. We've got the spreadsheet right there. I don't need to just narrate blindly. Zoom in a little bit, I think. Can we actually do that, maybe? So we got the bonus missions down here. The secret missions. 007 Car Chase. has been completed, I guess. We played through a few tracks and we got a high score of 92.50. So looking at the times here, the 8 hours to complete the duel for the Master System actually makes it the second longest game so far. The longest by far being Operation Stealth. Coming in at third, it looks like, in 7:27 is Live and Let Die, the computer game. Yeah, the boat racing game. And we actually spent quite a bit of time on that because we played like all these different versions and we eventually beat one of them, I think. That game was so confusing because the manual and box like lied about the contents of the game and how it works. It describes like 6 different missions, but the game actually only has 1 level. It was pretty fucked up. But it was a pretty cool game though. Like every version of that was like messed up in some different way. So I had a hard time deciding which version was best because each of them had like something cool going for it. But up next will be GoldenEye 007 for the N64. In fact, why don't we highlight that as such? We'll set that as up next. Hold this. Status, mission status up next will be GoldenEye for the N64. That's okay. I need to do a little bit of setup and like actually get this game up and running. Something I have not done at all. But I'm gonna need a little bit of downtime from Bond before we can jump into this. Which it's Wednesday. Maybe by Saturday I will have felt like I have enough downtime. I don't know, but we're gonna get to this soon enough. And the next game after that is actually the Game Boy game, which I'm really excited for too. Like, it's like, you know, I feel so elated right now because I was excited to play the Sega games, and like, plenty of games that we've played so far have been stuff that I've been excited to get to, but it's also like we're really past that hump where, yeah, it's not like every game from here on out is going to be fantastic, but I think the kind of stress we've felt with the challenge of the Master System game, which frankly is something I expected to have felt in far more of these games. The Super Nintendo James Bond Jr. ended up being like surprisingly easy, for example, and to say nothing of the Mega Drive Duel, which I was kind of dreading, having remembered it as a very difficult game from my childhood. But nope, we beat that in 2 hours. But I think, you know, I get the feeling that a lot of these games coming up are going to be less like difficulty spike, having to overcome challenge, and more about just having the patience to grind them out with, you know, checkpoints and starting over levels rather than starting the game from the beginning, etc. Have I not played GoldenEye before? I have played it, but not that much, and certainly not anytime recently. But I am not, I don't think, actually finished it like from beginning to end. I've played the first couple of levels several times. I've played it in multiplayer, you know, a few times maybe. But I will definitely be able to get to it with pretty fresh eyes. But the reason I'm very excited for it is not because like, oh, this game is sick, because I never liked this game that much. I thought it was fine, but I always respected GoldenEye far more than I enjoyed it. I was big into PC FPS games at the time, so there was a novelty to the mission structure, but I thought it looked like dog shit. I thought it ran super slow. It was really sluggish. It looks real muddy. It's like 2 FPS. You know, I was much happier playing Quake, so I wasn't really that interested. And the reason then that I'm excited isn't so much for that, so much as like it's a kind of beloved game, and it's a game that I, for my own personal reasons, kind of am excited to be able to have a more fleshed out view on. There's a lot of games like that, right, where I might not be that interested in playing them, but I will be interested in having played them, if only to have an informed opinion on it. So I'm looking forward to informing my opinion on GoldenEye a little bit further. I'm sure I will find a lot to enjoy about it. Like, at the time, you know, I was a big Sega kid, so of course I didn't like the N64, and I still don't care for it very much. And I've had countless experience playing games nowadays, either games specifically that I played as a child, or playing something maybe for the first time, but feeling pretty strongly that like I'm appreciating this game so much more now than I probably would have 20 years ago. And that might be the case with GoldenEye. I'm sure I'll be able to see it, you know, liberated from the kind of shackles of contemporaneousness. I don't know, like not having to look at it compared to other games, not having to like consider value, or you know, just coming to a game 20-30 years later to me always means that you can kind of look at it on its own terms in a different way, and it's easier to kind of look at the interesting parts of the game, look at the appealing parts of a game, and if it doesn't sort of, you know, reach a certain level of quality in other ways, you know, at the time you would probably take that as like, hey, this game it's not as good as it should be if I'm spending my hard-earned cash on it, or even my time playing this game over something else, etc. But if you're kind of going back to it as this archaeological exploration, you kind of just have to appreciate it for what it is and look for something to latch onto and appreciate. And I think for the most part, I have an easier time doing that with older games than with newer games, and I certainly have an easier time doing that with games now than I did 20 or 30 years ago. So it's very possible that I will end up with a higher appreciation of GoldenEye than I did, than I had previously. But even so, the biggest reason I'm actually excited to play it is because I think it's a game that it's like arguably the first game in this entire list that people in general like care about and have an opinion on and, you know, like. So I think for some people who might be regular longtime viewers, there might be a slight degree of novelty to watching me play something that is like such a mainstream game, a Nintendo thing or whatever, that's like, it's not typically the kind of thing I play on stream. And otherwise, like people who might not be as in tune with what I usually stream on here, it's just a more broadly appealing thing. So I hope at least that it'll lead to engagement. You know, I think it's the kind of game where most people, like unusually, I guess, it's something I'm streaming where like a majority of people who would be watching either play the game a lot or like it, or at the very least have some kind of personal attachment to it. So that probably is going to lead to, I wouldn't necessarily say a higher degree of investment, but a different kind of investment from the viewer's point of view than perhaps usual. So I think there's kind of an inherent novelty to it, and that's kind of what I get excited about, I suppose, because I think it's just going to be a really good time for a lot of reasons. It'd be like if I was streaming Mario 64. Yeah, I mean, and that's something I've definitely, because that's another game I never finished from beginning to end. And it's a game that I respect more than I enjoy, perhaps, and like I would absolutely be hypothetically interested in doing that at some point. That's not a promise or a plan or anything like that, but I would be interested in it. But it's just, you know, there's so many other things that I'm interested in, and there's so many games that I'm more excited about than Super Mario 64. But GoldenEye is something that I probably wouldn't get around to if it wasn't for a project like this, but I'm very glad that a project like this gives me the excuse to do it, because I think it's going to be a really fun time. So there you have it. Mission 17 will be GoldenEye 007, developed by Rare for Nintendo, released in 1997, a solid year and a half to 2 years after the film. In this 3D action game, the player controls James Bond from a first-person perspective, using a variety of weapons to eliminate his foes. However, many parts require the player to be careful, to stay unnoticed, or to snipe guards from a distance, since they will react to his presence and alarm their comrades. The game is divided into missions, and in most of them, Bond will have to perform other tasks beside killing his enemies, disarming bombs, taking pictures of important evidence, or avoid killing scientists. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I'm excited for this. But we will see as mentioned, when exactly this will happen. We did reach the community goal to do some viewers' choice fighting games, but I basically decided that we will not be doing that this week. I'm going on holiday on Friday. This is my last days of work before a couple of weeks off. And I don't specifically have plans on Friday just yet, but I will probably make plans or just want to do something to feel really like free. And hypothetically it could even mean doing a stream. I wouldn't expect it, but I might just, I don't know, get a feeling. But if I do, I wouldn't, like, I'd want it to be something different. So we're gonna do viewers choice fighting games next Friday, and probably we're not gonna jump right into GoldenEye on Saturday. I don't have exactly other plans specifically, but we do have, you know, our neglected, I would say, given how much time we spent with the Duel, our road to Mortal Kombat 1. I still want to play through every Mortal Kombat game this summer, and we only finished 1 and 2, so I really want to get to Mortal Kombat 3 pretty soon. I want to play through Dead Rising 2 this summer. I need to do a Gimmick Special Edition stream because I got a key for that, so that should happen pretty soon. There's just a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm not sure exactly what we'll be doing on the next stream, but let's just say most likely not GoldenEye. But I hope you guys are excited to hang out and tune in, even if we aren't playing popular N64 games. But you usually are. You're a fine crowd and a delight to have you guys around. It is now 10 past 10, so we are running late here. Let me then just figure out who is streaming that we might want to raid and pay things forward. Had some fine raids coming in tonight, which is always fun. Thanks again to Tompa and Geneva for raiding. And if any of you guys from either of those raids are still around, thank you very much for hanging out. Feel free to click that follow button if you haven't already, and if you think you had a good enough time to want to come back, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Man, there's like a million channels and I still don't know who to raid. Just always a classic. Well, let's see. What do we got? All right. I haven't been to Geekman's channel in what feels like forever. He's doing ESA practice runs of Grunio 2, which I have no idea what it is, but it looks like some kind of NES homebrew or something. Let's go say hi to Geekman. Sure, he's having a chill old time over there. Thank you again for hanging out. I'm so thrilled that we got through the Duel. But we're gonna move on to bigger and better things in the future. Have a nice rest of your week in case I don't see you until the weekend. Take care, everybody. Good night.